often. Eventually, though, he did come back. NIP, they got a little over-eager, I feel, and it did end up biting them in the behind.
And what does that mean for Game 3? Ninjas in Pyjamas had side selection. They chose blue once more. NIP and UOL have not changed sides once the series. In terms of picks and bans, do we just say Game 3, mostly the same, let's do it again?
I think you say, yes, we will do mostly the same. Why fix something? Oh, no, no! They've deviated, Trevor. What do we do?
Panic, panic, panic. Zach
I'm gonna have to predict things now, Trev. That's not fair.
Well, Zach is still open and available. Galio is banned away by NIP. Ooh. That was a first draft pick multiple times for UOL. So this leaves juicy options,
yes,
Zach or Thresh.
Ooh, well, I think they're fine leaving the Thresh open. They've done it multiple times. I feel like you have to ban away the Zach. I don't think you can afford... Just got distracted by you blowing at the desk.
Someone spilled sugar on the desk, so it's very distracting to me right now. Sorry.
Just put some paper over it. All right, okay, there we go. We're good. Zach is the ban. Thresh is the first pick. So this is very conventional. Now, what do you prioritize? The Caitlyn, that's been left available, and Ninjas chose not to prioritize, which is very surprising, especially given that he has played a fair amount of Caitlyn so far.
And what does he pair with it? That's the question. It's been Blitzcrank both of the previous games when paired with Twitch. Does Hilly just make it the hat trick? No, this time around, big pivots. Okay, Gragas already locked in. That was a phase 2 ban in both of the previous games. Xerxes going to have that available, or it could flex top.
Now I'm thinking Lee Sin here for Shook. It gives you a lot of early game pressure in terms of being able to invade. Should have a lot of pushing power. I feel like they could just go jungle and AD once again. Maybe you pivot over towards a Varus instead to give you a little bit more wave clear to deal with the pressure that Caitlyn's able to exert. But if it looks like EQ's just going to stick to what he's comfortable with, and to be fair, he has had some pretty great performances so far in this series. So I don't think it's the worst choice. I just think that the laning phase is going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, difficult situation that NIP have to deal with. Unicorns of Love also going to pivot on the support role as it appears. Once again, leaving those solo laners for phase 2 pick and ban. Now, Cassio, Fiora, and Warwick were the 3 that have been removed multiple times in the past. You can imagine that Warwick will get removed if you think Gragas is going to the jungle.
Yeah, I would assume it is Gragas in the jungle, just based on what I've seen so far. Surprised that Unicorns of Love have put very little value on getting themselves any kind of Shen. They may very well look to do that this time around, depending on whether or not they want to try and keep Samix a little bit healthier. And with the Galio gone, it gives you a little bit more. That's why this... it's because they've been the same for so long that you just forget the Shen ban, right? But it's a very stable ban against the Unicorns of Love, so it makes a lot more sense. So I feel like also I'd like to see Chachi on another carry. Like in Game 2, he didn't have the best performances. In Game 1, he got camped. Game 3, I'm sure he can rectify himself.
Well, Rumble is available, and Rumble is definitely a champion that you can pick. Although there are counters available to it. We've seen a few in the past. Let's see where they go. Jarvan is taken off the pool.
Interesting.
So does that mean... Wait, what does that mean?
Well, if Jarvan's banned, it gives you a pretty strong laning phase with Renekton taken off the boards. With Fiora being left open, Unicorns may very well look to try and early rotate it because then you have very few answers. I think Ninjas should look to ban away the Fiora right now. So far, they've been banning away junglers.
If they ban Fiora, does it go next
we're looking at something like
Rumble?
Maybe. Oh, Rumble, yeah, that'd be a very good pick. And then very likely that you go for the Camille as an answer. So if they don't pick up the Rumble now, I feel like Ninjas would pick it up, especially given that they banned away the Warwick. They're still expecting this Ragas to actually go into the top lane rather than go into the jungle, but they have that flexibility. And now they're just going to keep things safe in the mid lane, so they can keep they can guarantee a favorable top lane matchup for Chachi regardless of what NIP pick.
Yeah, of course, that Gragas can still flex, remember. Has the possibility to do so. Chachi's run that twice this split already. Ninjas in Pyjamas have to reveal their solo laners. Corki is now denied from Nagne, and he's played at both of the previous games. But Syndra is still up. Talia is still up. Cassio, which has been a phase 2 ban and staple, is locked in. And also, something that's been run into Corki multiple times, and there's the Rumble. So what does Chachi do? Camille?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I think that you can actually send the Gragas into the Rumble, and then you can get something like a Hecarim, if you wanted to. Like, in the early game, you're going to struggle against the Lee Sin. You want to have the same kind of pressure, but you have an engaged tool to force a bunch of fights.
And that is exactly what gets locked in. The power pony for the Unicorns of Love. To round out the comp. So, Vedius, hit me at TLDR. What do both of these team comps want to do?
So, Unicorns of Love, they have much more of a sieging, scaling composition. Really, it turns on once they get their ultimates available. It is pretty good in fights. However, they're a little more item reliant than their previous compositions have been in the past. The thing is with Twitch, because you have spray and pray, as long as you have 2 items and you're hitting lots of people, you'll still do a significant teamfight damage. Caitlyn doesn't have that same kind of strength, and her ulti isn't as impactful. Her strength comes from being able to set up trap lines, being able to use her extended range, and largely just be lane dominant. So expect to see a lot of early pressure down in the bottom lane, and then more scaling from the side of Xerxes and Exile.
And what about the ninjas in Pyjamas? They've got so many tools to threaten the backline. Rumble, curtain call, Lee Sin, flanks. A lot of options available to them.
They do, and they've also got a lot of ways to mitigate a lot of the mobility on the Unicorns of Love because of the Cassiopeia and Miasma. Their teamfight composition is going to be really exciting to watch, and I want to see where Shook invests his early game pressure because he has quite a lot of options.
Yes, game 1 and 2, it was obvious. Ladies and gentlemen of Berlin and watching all around the world, who will win this series? Will the Unicorns of Love pick up their 5th series win, or will the Ninjas in Pyjamas claim their 1st series win? As I build up the hype, we have an in-game pause. So we'll dial that one back ever so slightly. Shout out to the Meeps guys in the crowd. Those brave 3, ladies and gentlemen in Berlin, predicted Ninjas in Pyjamas would win the series. So, Love Hurts crew.
So did 2 members of the analyst desk.
You know your targets.
Whoa, hang on. Whoa.
Just saying. Just saying.
I can't believe you do that. You
I have security at the edge of my desk. They do not. Well, we'll
Let the Hunger Games begin!
I'll find out exactly what the pause is in just a moment or two. You notice a UOL pause, and we can see the referee on stage behind the guys. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Vedius, actually. Both of the Splice boys predicted a NIP victory. However,
they might have been a little biased in their prediction.
May not be the most altruistic of intentions.
But I did like the fact that Senkik said that he was a lot more impressed with how NIP have been playing versus how the Unicorns of Love have been playing in this series. And I have to agree with him. I feel that it was a very unfortunate mid-game play that went horribly wrong for NIP that allowed the Unicorns of Love to snowball back into the game. And I'm looking at NIP to be able to build that same kind of early lead, but this time hold on to it.
All right, we'll find out what they can do. I do have an update for you. Vizichachi has requested a pause. He has informed League officials that he's loaded into the game with the incorrect skin. So League officials are busy investigating, looking at his footage and looking at the options available. I'll give you an update once our League official, who is on stage right now, talking to Chachi, gives us that feedback. There is a possibility that we would just do a remake. It would be the exact same picks and bans. A game of record has not taken place yet. No actions, no interactions. So therefore, we just have a conversation for a little while longer.
Yeah, people haven't even bought items yet.
But
so.
we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Give you guys an update as soon as I hear it. And yes, to go back to the discussion around the Splice comments on the desk, I too am impressed by NIP. They've shown more than a lot of people expected.
Oh, yeah.
Today was meant to be 2 2-0s.
It was. It was, especially when you think back to Thursday, when Ninjas in Pyjamas played up against the Mysterious Monkeys. NIP kind of got, well, they looked good in the early game, but like it's been a story for so many weeks where they look good in the early game. They always start off with these promising leads because Shook is very heavily involved in their first bloods, but then it just never translates into anything, or they make one massive mistake that just goes horribly wrong for them. But today, we've seen a lot more improvement, and we've seen them properly utilize sideways, properly set up vision. They've been able to find proper fights. And while sure it's not perfect, the fact that they've challenged the Unicorns of Love this effectively really should speak credits to the amount of development they have made as a team and how well they are doing in this series.
Yes, I agree with that. And the key for me is 12 games where Ninjas in Pyjamas were unable to convert those early game plays. I actually got the stats team to give me the gold differences for Ninjas in Pyjamas over the course of their series. And it's surprisingly even to a head. Minus 200, minus 200, plus 200, plus 500, plus 1,500. For a team that is lost in the league, that is considered by a sizable margin lost in the league, in their group respectively rather, to go even that many times at least shows there is glimmers of hope. There is possibility. There is something to work with. The problem is it enough to catch up to Roccat? Is it enough to catch up and get out of the relegation zone?
And we have to reference back to something that was discussed on the analyst desk, which is very much that this looked like a team of solo queue players. Individually, they all possessed talent, but as a team, it felt like that they just weren't clicking. There just didn't seem to be something there that allowed them all to work together and find a lot of success. So now we are starting to see more of that. We're seeing Shook communicate with his laners, properly invest resources into the right places, transition that into mid-game leads where they seem to be moving around the map much better than they have done in past weeks.
All right, let's see whether or not NIP can actually keep that in game number 3. I'd like to give you guys an update that league officials have confirmed that it was an incorrect skin that loaded up with Vizichachi's account. So we will remake picks and bans exactly as you see them on screen. So while the players are busy getting into the lobby and setting themselves up, we're going to look at the draft because it is almost not the same as the first 2 games.
It's not at all the same.
Oh, look at that! No, yeah, I actually messed up my double negative there.
Yes,
but
you
yes,
did.
completely different. The only thing that has stayed consistent was that first pick Thresh, and the champions that were banned throughout games 1 and 2 have now been unleashed. Those being Nagne's Cassio and Samix's Caitlyn.
Yes, and Hecarim.
And Hecarim, of course.
Always fun to see interesting champions like that.
Why is it interesting to see?
Why is it interesting? So the reason why this champion in particular is interesting is because of its engage capabilities. The way in which Hecarim makes fights happen is he charges up a lot of speed with his E, he then runs in with the ultimate, and then he can use his E because it's already charged up from beforehand to then still get the knockback onto a target. And ideally he's feared a bunch of targets as he knocks one back so that they can't then provide assistance for that lone target. The biggest issue that Hecarim as a champion has is that his ideal build path is getting an early Trinity Force.
Yep, very expensive.
Which is very, very expensive. And if you sit in the jungle and just farm all day, sure, you can get it. It's perfectly possible. But that means that your laners are kind of left on an island against a Lee Sin, and it's Shook's Lee Sin. And if anything, to go by of the last 2 games, like that's definitely a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, the last 2 games. But what about the 12 before that?
That's very true.
So that's the question, right? Which Shook shows up? How
Well, I feel like today he really has shown up,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I do not want to underplay that at all. The most impressive thing about Shook today is just his ability to impact the correct lane.
Yeah.
Obviously shutting down Chachi in game 1 that allowed Prophet and the rest of the NIP squad to take over the game. Just to give you another update, guys, the picks and bans has started with the respective teams, so this should hopefully fly fairly quickly. And let's try to set up the laning phase. What are you anticipating? Because games 1 and 2, there was very, very clear lane advantages for the NIP squad. So what are you looking at this time around?
So early push, very likely to go in the favor of Corki in the middle lane. Because Cassio's damage is largely single target based, and a lot of her damage actually comes from the E, which is the Twin Fang, rather than the poison itself. You don't have a huge amount of pushing power, but you do have a lot of trading power. So Corki's goal in the early game should just be to clear the minions as fast as possible by using his Q, by using his E, and just pushing to give the jungler a little bit more freedom in the river to get the scuttle crabs so that he has the support of his mid laner to help him in the event that he finds a Lee Sin in the jungle. So that's what I expect in the middle lane. But then as you get a few levels under your belt, that caster becomes a lot scarier because miasma prevents you from being able to use your escapes on Corki. That includes the flash, and that also includes your Valkyrie. So it's something that you have to be mindful of, especially if a Lee Sin comes into the lane just as you want to try and get out.
Now, there's a lot of options for mobility on the side of UOL. They could get shut down. Corki, Hecarim, Gragas, Caitlyn, all of them with some or other mobility tool in their kit.
Yep.
All right, guys, as the draft this time around is drawing to a close, I just want to give everybody an update and a reminder. Vizichachi paused the game at the beginning to inform league officials that he'd loaded into the game with the wrong skin. This was verified and confirmed by the officials, and as a game of record had not taken place, a remake was permitted with the same picks and bans. So we're finishing up pick and ban phase. There's about 40 seconds left before we start the usual crowd hype and camera.
Yeah, and don't lose that. Yeah, don't lose that, because yes, we've had a pause. Yes, things have slowed down, but the ninjas in pajamas, the guys that have not won a single game, were not only able to take down the Unicorns of Love, but they brought us to a Game 3 in a very pivotal matchup. So this is exciting. There's a lot of hype, and I am ready to cast the pants off of this game.
I am the same, Vedius, as I too am excited for the ninjas in pajamas. They have their golden shoes on today, and will that be the golden ticket to pick up a win? Their first series win of summer. We are about to find out as the timer has hit 0 in picks and bans. Vizichachi and the Unicorns on your screen.
Cue the dramatic music.
Can they bounce this one back? We're waiting for that dramatic music from the producers.
I'll do it. Dum 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 dum.
I'm still waiting. We'll keep the build up. Not quite the beatboxer you hope you are, Vedius. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for bearing with us through this pause. We will be loading up for the deciding game and the final game of Week 5 here in the EU LCS. It's the second week of cross-group play, and the ninjas in pajamas meep holding fans in the audience are behind the squad. Let's see whether or not NIP can pull off another upset.
And we got some level 1 action. Quick shot. I can see it coming. There will be blood in the early game. These teams, they're looking for some kind of an opportunity. As UOL, they set up the line of scrimmage very early on, but 5-man units of NIP, they grouped, and they found, alas, nothing.
Yeah, no bloodbath yet. Waiting. Ticket to bloodbath has been punched. And I'm looking forward to the excitement. Shook and Xerxes both have such huge playmaking junglers. Let's see how long it'll take them to get involved. And if you were to make a wager, Young Day, can I help you?
I had to take my jacket off, and people in the crowd are wooing me.
Well, that's the first time.
That is a first.
That's the first time Skeletor's got a woo. But nicely done, nicely done.
Right, so let's focus back on here. What would you like to talk about, Quick Shot?
Yes, I said, if you were to predict the lane that Shook is going to gank, what would it be? He's had successful ganks for Prophet. He's had successful ganks for Nagne. So where will it be and why?
I feel like the mid lane's a difficult lane to gank, but it's definitely a good one to get rolling. If you have a Cassio with an advantage over the Corki, it means that he will constantly have pressure, even in a side lane later on. So it would be smart, but it's super difficult to gank a Corki, largely because he has an exhaust and because he has that natural escape. You see a bit of trading down the bottom lane?
We do indeed. No gobbledygook from Hillisang. Was looking for Hiku, and the passive is going to time out. Look at your mini-map. Shook going for an invade. Actually, hold that thought. Flay catches Samix. The trading continues. Fourth and final shot from Hiku tags him. And as I'm looking at the mini-map, Shook has run away. I won't get to talk about the junglers yet, because now Prophet and Chachi, they're trading. Remember, Vizichachi was over-eager in the previous game.
2.
Gave a kill to Prophet. Level 2 to level 1. Flame Spitter is coming out. The Electro Harpoon hurts. The Body Slam boop. Electro Harpoon number 2. Juicy, juicy targets here. Chachi and Prophet. They're looking for a way in.
Yeah, but because Chachi has started with the Doran's Ring, he gets an extra health pot, which means that he should have a little bit more sustain back in the 1 versus 1. So speaking of junglers, we have to look at Shook's very impressive performance in game 1. Exceptionally high jungle proximity, which means that basically he spent a lot of his time with his laners.
That definitely worked out. And of course, kills plus assists, very effective, huge gold lead as well. When you consider his team was up around 4,000 gold, 900 of it was in his back pocket. Pretty good percentage there. And all of the early trading has not equated into an advantage yet. Hiku and Sprotle still looking to play on the front foot, still looking to get in Samex's face. As Hiku is trying to weave in a couple of shots in between. Doing a good job at the moment, Venius.
Yep. So as we expected in the mid lane, you can see the Cassio getting pushed in a little bit, allowing Exile to just drop a ward in the river so he can keep an eye on Shook as he may consider invading onto Xerxes, who, by the way, very early on, actually had to get help from the bottom lane because he took so much damage from doing extended clear of Raptors into Wolves into the blue. Like, he was only level 2, which is what you'd expect to be, but just because of how much harassment he'd taken from the jungle camps, he had to get help from his bottom lane, which alleviated pressure, and really that 2v2 bottom lane going heavily in the favor of Hiku, but you're also seeing the trading power of the Cassio early on.
Yeah, big trades back and forth. Exile winning out initially, but Nagne burning through his mana pool to get down Exile's HP. Corruption potion for Nagne.
Oh, I love that pathing from him, as he's now going to find Exile, but it's Corki.
Yeah, and he'll be able to escape with the Valkyrie. No miasma to prevent the escape. And the roam from Sprotle also does not pay off.
Now, Urwell, they know that Shook is invading onto the jungle. Xerxes doesn't care. Instead, he's going to go to the top lane where there is no ward right now.
All right, no ward at 4 minutes. Trinket is on cooldown. That may have timed out. Shook going to find himself a rampaging pony. Xerxes going to be waiting out. Gets a rampage down. Tempest and Cripple was used. Devastating charge comes up, and Shook flashes over the wall. Looking at the mini-map, look, pings. Nagne had already left mid lane. Now Shook's going to look to hop over the wall, and there's no onslaught of shadows for Xerxes to chase.
So you can see how Shook not only had to use a flash, but also was going to heavily lose out on that trade. Number 1, because Xerxes just had more health. And number 2, because Xerxes had the red buff as he met him first during the laning phase.
Oh.
So that resulted in Xerxes being able to win out, force the flash onto Shook. This will alleviate a lot of the early jungle proximity that Shook is looking to invest and snowball the lanes as he makes his way up topside once again.
Sprotle just missing that death sentence by the skin of a catfish. Hylissang's character model not in luck. Xerxes walks into the jungle to not find any camps. And as Pyro once said, he plays himself out. Recalling outside of NIP's jungle. No first blood yet, no early game ganks, and Shook, well, he answered the question. He was going to go mid lane. The roam and the gank did not work.
Yep.
So now we need to see where he decides to go next.
I feel like bot lane could be an option, as long as you focus the Tahm Kench rather than the Caitlyn, because then the Tahm Kench will just gobble her up and spit her out to safety. But if you could burn a couple of the summoner spells on top of that Kate, and to be fair, alleviate the pressure that doesn't seem to be as dominant as you would typically expect from a Caitlyn, I think that it could be a good point for NIP to get themselves an early lead.
All right, I'll keep my eyes on the minimap and see whether or not Shook makes his way down there. I like that ward that Exile placed, by the way. Will spot out Nagne on any sort of roams or Shook on any sort of invades. And it's matched by Nagne. Obviously, Exile, once he gets the package, will be able to do that roam even more efficiently and effectively.
The big concern that NIP need to be having right now is the fact that Xerxes is just freely farming on the Hecarim. Right now, he hasn't really completed any items, but you would imagine that he's going to go for a very early Trinity Force. And the fact is, he's just sitting there farming up, farming up, farming up, farming up. And if Shook isn't doing anything in the early game, he will get outscaled, and the teamfight value that you will have is going to be insurmountable.
All right, death sentence under the tower. Flay to push him away, rooted by the deadly flourish. Hiku's going to look for Hylissang.
He's dead.
Grey health pops. That's going to be first blood to Hiku. And Sprotle didn't go down. Xerxes overextended. He's halfway to level 6, so there's no onslaught available. Samex will get a trap and a headshot and a root. Shook is forced to run. 70 HP. Flay for days. Not going to be enough damage yet from Samex. Now Hiku's joined the fray. Unicorns of Love give up first blood.
Oh, Hylissang! You tried to tank up the tower, but you flash underneath it to try and land the stun. before Xerxes even in position to properly commit to the dive. The execution falling apart for the Unicorns of Love. And just watch, because you can see on your minimap, Hecarim is on his way down. Shook knows that this is happening. So, Spraddle, he lands the hook early on onto Hylissang. He already starts taking tower damage. And then look, he gets flat. He flashes underneath the tower to try and land the stun, misses it. That means he dies. And Xerxes, he cannot support them because there's no minion wave left. And everything falls apart. And they just continue the chase. They try to get things going, but they aren't able to get any further kills.
No, Spraddle went for the fish over the wall. That was why the death sentence wasn't available for the follow-up there.
And we need to talk about Hiku now, because this guy has been performing fantastically throughout this series. Currently sitting in a very positive KDA. His kill participation has been pretty significant, involved in at least 3/5 of the team's kills. And his damage per minute is decent considering he is playing the Jhin champion, and did have a bit of a rough time in Game 2 with that Blitzcrank. And I feel like a lot of question marks have been surrounding how good is this guy. We saw some decent performances from him when he played for Giants in spring, but nothing has really stood out about him as an individual. And I feel like, especially on this comfort champion for him, he seems to be coming more into his own.
Yeah, definitely the case. Hiku showing up against Unicorns of Love, and that's actually no mean feat. Samux and Hylissang have steadily grown to be one of the better duo lanes here in the EU LCS, and this summer especially, with the rise of Samux, dare I say it. But take a look at those first backs. BF Sword and Pickaxe for Samux, no boots. Swifties for Hiku and a BF Sword, just to get out of range of the Hecarim and negate the slow of the lashing from the tongue of Hilly.
Also, it's a fairly common itemization on the Jhin, just because they value the added movement speed. It makes it a lot easier when trying to hit people with the crit, right? Because when you try to trade in lane, you want to be hitting people with, if you can, the crit and the pass on and the Q, as we see a bit of a trade in mid.
Oh, pretty cheeky placement of the Miasma. Noxian Blast comes down, Twin Fang after Twin Fang.
Beautiful.
And Nagne, I think that might have counted as an isolated death. That would make it number 21. I will get that verified at the stats team. As Shook is going hunting, Xerxes lives to fight another day.
That was exquisite. So we talked a lot about the level 6 mark for Nagne in this 1v1 matchup. Spraddle, though, is isolated right now.
All right, Curtain Call was used a few moments ago as Hiku is looking for exile, so cannot follow up onto Samux. And Ninjas in Pyjamas, yet again, have a lead. It's 1,300 gold. It's 10 minutes into the game, and they fended off the plays. This was what effectively ended up being a solo.
So, bear in mind, Nagne, notice how he positions the Miasma to make it difficult for Exile to be able to use his Valkyrie out. Exile still doesn't flash until the very last minute. He tries to sidestep all the poison, and he ends up just taking way more damage than he expected, as we see Xerxes hanging around the bottom lane. Just really good play from Nagne. Very impressed with the fact that he was able to solo kill Exile, but now that list of people who've solo killed Exile really is starting to get very big.
Oh yeah, it's not even special anymore.
No, it's not.
And Xerxes decides not to engage. So taking stock, 87 CS for Exile in the mid lane to 113 of Nagne. It is evened out somewhat as Samux is approaching plus 20 as well. And we saw a trade there a little while ago. Hiku and Spraddle just getting dunked by that extra pickaxe. But look at the roam here.
Right now, Cassio moving down to the bottom side of the map. They do have the Lantern and the Flash on Spraddle.
All right, Spraddle's got the Flash Flay. Miasma comes down, two-man Flay, lining up the death sentence for Samux.
Oh!
Predicts it! Spraddle, you beauty!
Exquisite setup from NIP. You could not ask for a better play. Just bravo, bro. That was wonderful.
Flash is available for both Samux and Hylissang. Everything landed, and it's not over yet. Prophet puts down the equalizer. Miasma comes out, and Nagne slithers forward. Tower First Blood is on the horizon for Ninjas in Pyjamas, and yet another significant gold lead.
Ooh, I can't. Can we get a slow-mo, please, on Spraddle as he lands that hook? Because that man deserves it. I've seen a lot of comments from the community being very much that Spraddle really doesn't do anything on the team. Who is this support? Why was he picked up? And like, this man has experience under his belt. This man can perform, especially on this champion on Thresh, that he's been able to get so many times throughout the series. And I think that is the big thing for this team. Comfort picks seem to be the way to go if you want NIP to succeed. So let's see how this happens. You can see Corki forced underneath his tower. He doesn't have the same push anymore. Miasma comes down first, so they can't flash. Samix could flash here. He uses his E. Spraddle predicts it and is able to land the hook. Meanwhile, the rest of the team were just killing the Tahm Kench. And note as well, Shook lands the kick as well to just guarantee that kill.
Prophet gets the double Electro Harpoon.
Oh.
Flashes in front of the barrel. And now he's looking for Chachi. Here comes Spraddle and Shook. The flay, the death.
He does it again.
They're not done yet. Follow the Lee Syndrome. Do it, do it, do it. Ah, Shook's got no kick to bounce him back. NIP 5 kills to 0.
But we've seen this before, Quick Shot. They've done it game 1, they've done it game 2, and now they're looking to do it once more in game 3. Exquisite early game performance. You cannot take anything away from how well NIP are playing, and it's simply a matter of abusing the fact that UOL do not play early game-based compositions. They are taking advantage of this team and their style, and they are constantly getting these early leads as NIP roam to the top lane.
All right, tower dive being set up, but teleport coming through for Vizichachi. That at least will give NIP the advantage TP-wise as they also pick up the Herald. Very quickly, would like to remind everybody watching at home and here in the studio that the finals for Summer Split will be in Paris. Unicorns of Love were in the finals in Hamburg and they were upset. They're going to look to try get back there. But they're going to have to beat NIP and make it to the playoffs. If you guys want to join us and watch whoever does make it, head over to lolesports.com. You can find yourself information on the tickets, start time, and exactly how to join us in Paris. Get a baguette, look at the Eiffel Tower. It's a lot of fun.
And I've heard the tea is lovely in Paris as well, so you could try that too.
The tea is lovely.
As a Brit, that's what comes to mind, all right? So, Rift Herald takes down the tier 1 in the middle lane. The next focus for NIP should be in the top lane, but they're going after Chachi, who has no flash.
No, he doesn't. Going to get rooted down by the Flourish. Once again, uses the barrel. Doesn't find any targets, though. Hylissang's going to be able to devour him, and that will save Chachi for now. Curtain Call comes out. Nagne's got a flash if he wants to use it. Tower dive is a possibility. Hell, go between the towers. Rooted in places. The Yordle Snap Trap is procced. Ninjas and Pyjamas have 25 million wards inside UOL's...
Oh!
How did that hit? Curving the hook. There's a Chachi forced to get devoured. Ninjas in Pyjamas on the top tower, while Exiles on the mid.
Spraddle with a beautiful hook once more. Will not result in any kills, unfortunately for NIP, but they will be able to get the tier 1 in the top lane, but they lost a lot in the middle lane as well. So Exile, he's able to answer a lot of the towers, and let's just backtrack, because NIP, they made a lot of action happen all around the map. They invested a huge number of members to the top side because they were really committed to getting those kills, and now Exile, oh no. He's gonna flay it. He's gonna flay it. He does it
again! Spraddle setting everything up. Dragon's Rage is available here for Shook. He's gonna try donate it to Hikyu. Not gonna be enough. Man, what a great game. 0-0-5. His team has got 6 kills. And Spraddle is a monster.
Oh man. Let's watch this again in slow-mo. Spraddle, he brings in his teammates. Boom! You thought you could go over the wall? Denied.
Access denied indeed. Looking at the minimap, that also may be an isolated death. We can only verify that at the end of the game. That would include, bump it to 22.
It would.
Isolated deaths.
And that was bad from Exile because everyone had backed away from the side of NIP. They'd taken down tier 1. There's no need for you to get a bit of extra damage onto that tier 2 tower in the middle lane. Just leave. Just push the minions wave underneath and leave. And just no respect from Exile. Gives away another kill. And NIP continuing to look strong.
That's right. NIP playmaking set up. Infinity Edge for Hikyu. Rod of Ages at 7 stacks for Nagne. To be fair, Exile's got his hands on the Triforce and the Sork Boots. And the rest of his team, Xerxes, Samak, still trying to build their way up. Xerxes about to finish his Triforce. So that will add a lot more threat to this Hecarim. And I'm looking at the minimap in terms of setup. Dragon Not available yet, but there is a couple of NIP wards in the river around the Dragon Pits.
Well, Dragon will be a big point of contention for both these teams. Bear in mind, really good team fighting power from the side of NIP. They have the Rumble, they have the Casio, both doing exceptionally well right now. With the Rod of Ages already completed, as, ooh, goes to the flash kick.
Well, not going to be enough, actually. Was a Valkyrie more than enough. Shook's going to get run down here. Lantern saves him. Minions are on him. Manages to escape. Spratle, right place, right time. He saves his man.
HiQ forced to use the heal to keep his jungler alive. But the exhaust was taken from Exile along with the flash from Shook. So perhaps a little bit greedy as they look for a play.
All right, Death Sentence is available for Spratle. Flash is not. Xerxes going to be able to escape with a devastating charge. And I'm hearing ahs and gasps from Berlin. Turning to believe
Exile?
Inside. Turning to believe in NIP. Sidesteps away from the deadly flourish, and Exile's able to escape. Almost ISO Death 23.
And so I want to take this opportunity just to remind our viewers what this could mean for the standings.
What does it mean?
Remember that the Unicorns of Love right now are not in first place, H2K are, after their defeat over Misfits. As might not have time for that as the ulti comes out onto Samuks.
All right, 2, 3 is dodged. 4, okay, this is pretty bad. Fourth shot does connect. The equalizer goes wide. Barrel onto Nagne. Nagne flashes away. Throws down the cleanse and manages to stun up Xerxes. Xerxes should be able to use this onslaught of shadows. The box is thrown down. Unicorns have their first kill in the deciding game. Sprattle's the target, and boy, do they want to take him down. Samuks gets the kill. Onslaught still available to Xerxes, as is the devastating charge. Xerxes coming in from behind, can flank, can dive under the tower. Unicorns deciding whether they want to. Defensive flash from HiQ. Unicorns not done yet. They take down Shook, peel backwards, and the inner turret is tagging Hilly.
Unicorns of Love find a fantastic fight onto the ninjas in pajamas. And it's simply a matter of NIP doing exactly what they did in Game 2 and what they've done in the past. They commit so hard onto trying to force Samuks away from the tower. They do not have a minion wave, and they do not respect the possibility of a flank, which you all well are exceptionally good at. They find the key target in Nagne. They know how strong he is at this point in the game, and they just want to shut him down. With him gone, NIP are just forced to run away, and it is super easy for Unicorns of Love to just continue chasing them down with all the mobility that they have with their composition. NIP, these are the sort of plays that allowed Unicorns of Love to come back in Game 2, and they're making it happen once more.
Yes, exactly. You cannot afford to make these mistakes. Ninjas in Pajamas cannot take anything away from them. They have had a significantly better early game, all 3 games. Maybe their team composition is a large part to play, but you still have to use that composition. You have to make the plays. And by God, every single one of them have done so.
Yep.
Prophet, Shook, Nagne, HiQ, and Spratle have all outplayed their opposite numbers at varying times.
But now we're at a point in the game where the Unicorns of Love, this is their playtime, this is their field. As we see another flank from Chachi.
Chachi's got the big barrel, gonna pop the Banshee's Veil. Nagne's the target. He once again gets a petrifying gaze before he's shut down. It's Helisang that gets the killing blow. Blast Cone sends Shook over the wall, and he ward hops to safety. Unicorns find a flawless flank and take down the mid laner. But Samuks and Chachi gotta back away. Xerxes still got his ultimate available, remember. Deadly Flourish comes down, very good Devour. Onslaught comes out, that taunts a few. Devastating charge onto HiQ. Unicorns even up the gold, they're 1 kill shy. Teleport from Chachi, and Unicorns continue the siege.
The Unicorns of Love always find the right flank, and they're continuing to do it. Consistent dominance over the Ninjas in Pajamas as they group up, and finally, Unicorns of Love take the goal lead.
And Vedius, you talked about this team composition. Unicorns have a great siege setup, siege potential. The engaged threat from Chachi and Xerxes is so powerful. Even without ultimates, Unicorns can still win a fight. Instead, Nagne is the target. Oh, why are you there? He pulls an Exile and gets caught out alone.
Face checks into a jungle that he has zero vision of. He thinks the Unicorns have left, but they have just gotten started. Every single time the Unicorns of Love, they find the key target that they need to shut down, and immediately, without hesitation, always destroys them.
Look at the deep vision. UOL have set up in that left
this is risky.
quadrant.
Very, very risky. There's no vision from NIP, but Shook can still come for the steal.
Baron's at about half HP.
Never mind.
Much lower. 1,000 down low. Sprattle's on the front line. He gets chagged, tanked, knocked back. He puts the box down. Equalizer at least burns the back end as Sprattle flashes away to safety. Sonic Wave falls short as now Hilly's the target. No flash available to him. Playing death sentence. The catfish for Baron. Yep, make that trade any day.
So the Unicorns of Love turn 2 fights in the middle lane into a Baron and into a significant 2,000 gold lead in their favor. Remember, this game was 6-0. And every single time for the Ninjas in Pyjamas, it is always one play that always happens in that bit right there between the mid lane and the tier 2 tower. They always get caught and they always throw the game.
This series.
Well, I mean, they've done it in the past. Like, they've done it so many times. Like, it feels like it's just, like, their curse. They cannot enter that period without allowing Unicorns of Love to just find an avenue back in. And I feel like you have to give credit to the Unicorns because they saw the opportunity, they saw a fantastic flank, and they made it work perfectly. But at the same time, NIP, like,
yes,
why?
allowed it to happen. Yeah. NIP put themselves in a position where the Trinity Force Hecarim could flank, where Vizichachi could find the barrels that were game-changing, and that means at 24 minutes, the Unicorns are in the gold lead. Not something they've experienced for much of this series. Vizichachi's up in the top lane, sieging with Baron-empowered minions. Here comes Samux. He can lay down the trap line if he needs to. Doesn't need to just yet. Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, the makings of another Zeal. Ninjas in Pyjamas have got such a difficult time because their engage is so difficult and so situational.
Yep. And also their wave clear really isn't great, right? Cassio, very single target damage. Yes, she has the miasma, but it's not exactly used for clearing out minions, especially Baron-empowered ones. And Jin, when you think about him as a champion, you don't think, oh, I really could use him to clear out a giant minion wave. Whereas Caitlyn and Corki, all they do is poke and siege. And then if you ever overstep, you've got this risk of being engaged on by a Hecarim and a Gragas. So this composition is now in the perfect spot that it needs to be in order to close out the game for Unicorns of Love. And it's going to be exceptionally difficult for NIP. They need to catch someone out of position. But it's at this point in the game where Exile is less likely to get caught because he's more grouped up with his team and there are people communicating with him. Yo, dude, why don't we back off a little bit?
Exactly. Somebody else pulling on the reins ever so slightly. Sprattle, though, has had some fantastic plays. He's got no flash available to him now. And has just used the death sentence to pull the Bramble back. Not going to be able to set it up, though, as Unicorns will say, mine, and take that one away. Nagne's waiting in the bush here. Look at the minimap in terms of setup. UOL grouped inside the jungle. Baron is up for another 30 seconds. Petrifying gaze onto Exile. He's devoured, but the poison ticks through the belly. Taken down, threading the needle as Nagne finds his man. Xerxes going to use that ultimate defensively. And Exile cannot necessarily be completely at fault.
My trap card has activated. What do you expect from a ninja? They come out from the brush. Great ulti from Nagne onto Exile. Locks him down. There's more than enough damage, especially with the miasma, to prevent him from flashing or even using any kind of escapes. Beautiful kill there, and they delay the siege from the Unicorns.
We've legitimately cast a curse players this week several times, because the speech about Exile being with his whole team and not being able to get singled out. Well, what are you meant to do?
Oh, man. Poor Exile, poor Exile.
But also good play this time from NIP. Nagne,
very good.
Right bush, right timing, you know, wasn't checked out, got the petrifying gaze, and look, it's a reprieve. It's not a big helper.
Yes.
NIP are still 4,000 gold down. Yeah, they've got a couple of dragons, but that's not going to take. That's not going to be helpful yet. It's going to take a long time.
And the Unicorns of Love are still super strong when it comes to fighting, right? There's the Baron available that they can play around. They can keep stalling because they scale exceptionally well. And just look at the level difference between the two junglers. 14 on Xerxes to 11 on Shook. That mid-game value is just so much different, just in terms of raw numbers, that it's going to be so difficult for Shook to have that same sort of game-impacting play that Xerxes can have, especially with his ability to just dive onto the backline and shut down Hikyu.
Yeah, look at his itemization as well, starting to get a little bit beefier and tankier. Got himself that Spectre's Cowl, Cinder Hulk, a little bit of HP under his belt. 2 rapid-fire cannons and on the side of Yoel, and then a static shiv for Samux. So his damage is starting to go through the roof. And Unicorns, well, the Rift is their domain. NIP are strangled off the map. They can't get into their lanes. They can barely get into their jungle. They're trying the Death Bush again. It can only work so many times.
Yeah, the problem for UOL right now is that they haven't got much control over this top lane, so they're actually only pushing into 2 lanes, which means that it's easier for NIP to just move between them and just keep clearing out, keep stalling things. But as long as UOL maintain vision around the top quadrant of NIP's jungle, then Baron will still be the big card that they can look to play that can guarantee them the win.
Well, that's what Unicorns want to do. They're currently at 4 series wins. I believe H2K have 5, so Unicorns would need to close this one out. Stay tied in series wins, but have 1 series loss less. And when you consider we're in cross-group play, these are bonus points. You can't afford to lose games to the opposing group. Yeah. It allows teams like Splice, like H2K, to stick to you. And I mentioned the Paris tickets earlier. Unicorns coming into the split, the expectations based on the same team, the Korean boot camp, their look in the finals, their growth throughout the year, expectations may have never been higher for this team.
Yep. Everyone was saying Unicorns of Love guaranteed to go to Worlds this year. They had new players coming in summer of last year. Everyone was like, oh, they're improving. They're becoming one of the better teams in Europe. Then spring comes around. They finish first in their group, make it all the way to the finals. They have a convincing and dominating performance over Misfits. And they can't quite take it to G2. So fine, they go into this split, continue to look dominant. They only drop a series to Splice. And Unicorns of Love, we said at the very start of the series, they want to make that fight for being the best team in Europe. And they haven't played Fnatic yet, so it's difficult to actually make the argument that they are or they aren't. But now they're struggling against NIP. And I want to echo the sentiment that this is not because they are playing especially badly. It's because NIP are challenging them, and they are bringing this early game strength that they have, and they are making life difficult for the Unicorns of Love.
I'm really glad you said that, because, yeah, NIP, now they're defending at risk of being surrounded here by Unicorns. Ninjas and Pyjamas 0-5 on the split. Mysterious Monkeys have picked up a series win. And of course, if you look at, we'll continue that story in a moment or two. Curtain Call comes out and that does literally nothing.
The thing is,
shot finally tags Samux.
I feel like NIP knows Xerxes on the flank, so they don't have to be worried about the commitment. But he's so far away that NIP are going to force the fight.
Prophet needs to have a great equalizer here. Look at Hiku, he's being run down. Good lantern placement by Spratel. Saves his AD carry's life. Unicorns of Love have been pushed off the Baron. Ninjas and Pyjamas are playing from behind. They're 4,000 gold down. They're in the Unicorn shoes. That's what they've done to the Unicorns the last 2 games.
But look at the TP. You can see that Xerxes, he still has his ulti available. Tom Kench coming in from the flank as well.
All right, tower should fall to the minions. A couple extra shots is all that's needed. Spratel gets a death sentence onto Xerxes. He's rooted by the flourish. Nagne is in way with the petrifying gaze. Equalizer is good from Prophet, and Hellesang's on the back end. Exile putting a lot of damage down onto Prophet. Vizichachi's looking for a re-engage, but he's used the ulti.
Watch Spratel. He has the flash. He's landed many great hooks this game so far.
Minion wave from the bottom lane is pushing to that inner turret. Deadly Flourish doesn't find a target. Sonic Wave connects. Death Sentence does too. Here comes Xerxes. The charge is ramping up. Doesn't pull the trigger. Tension is building, but nobody is fighting.
But NIP, they get themselves the tower. Now, UOL, they're back towards the Baron, and they want to force this fight. NIP, what you got?
Gonna find out. There's no equalizer, remember.
That's quick.
Flying Gaze will only be good on a turn. Baron, 1,000 HP, easily secured. Xerxes picks it up. Prophet takes a big hit to the face. Sonic Wave onto Vizichachi as Nagne cleanses out from the trap, and the Unicorns of Love amidst golf claps in Berlin get their second Baron and extend the gold lead.
Smart play from the Unicorns. They realize that NIP are backing off and they're not in a great position to respond to an immediate Baron rush. Add to the fact that Baron went down so quickly, man, the Unicorns of Love took a pretty safe objective without real contention from the side of NIP. So overall, they get themselves a net positive, and they sit on a 5,000 gold lead. as this game continues to mount in terms of tension.
Dragon number 3 goes to Ninjas in Pyjamas. That's the only saving grace for them right now. 2 oceans and a cloud. That's not great for them, unfortunately. Not infernals, not mountains. And Elder's only going to be up in about 5.5 minutes. So Ninjas in Pyjamas somehow have to stall for another 5 minutes, then somehow have to contest Elder.
But look at these side lanes right now. Bottom lane is slow pushing in favor of the Unicorns of Love. Top is pushing in favor of NIP. And Unicorns, they just keep grouping mid, which is fine, but NIP are just going to keep wave clearing this. So sure, you can keep grouping up and maybe find a fight, but NIP can just keep stalling. You need to get control over these other waves.
Well, Xerxes gone to the top lane, Vedius, clearing that one out. Baron Empowered minions will start hammering away on that top lane inhibitor. Prophet, with the help of Nagne, making his way up there. A little bit of fishing from Sprattle. Not going to find anything yet. 0-1-7 on his Thresh. And now all of a sudden UOL, 1 in the top lane, 4 in the mid lane. Inhibitor turrets are the targets.
That's a lot of range, a lot of siege power from Samax. Big crit onto Exile though, but they're going to take this tower.
Yeah, they are. The explosive cask used, didn't find a target though, so that's not available if NIP can find it engage.
A lot of harassment coming out from the side of NIP though. Exile always moving up a little too aggressively. He needs to be mindful of the pick power that NIP do have.
Shook find himself a Sonic Wave into Vizicachi, has flash and wards available. The ward hop kick could be game-changing.
Love this move from Hillasang. Immediately taking his Baron buff down to the bottom lane with Exile, very quickly able to siege onto this tower, and this is a result of the slow push that they set up earlier on in the game. So you are taking advantage of all 3 lanes now, and this is much a stronger way of breaking into the base.
This is exactly what most people expected from the series. Looking at how UOL are playing now, good chunk of damage onto Exile. He eats a dancing grenade.
Perfect.
Prophet is trying to harass Xerxes best he can. Okay, all 3 towers are down, and Unicorns are now being engaged on. Curtain Call will tag Hilly, tag Samax. 4th and final shot rings true. Inhibitor in the top lane is the target and taken down.
And NIP, they're just trying to get anything at this point, but UOL are playing them all around the map. They take an inhibitor in the top and they're back towards the bottom.
Sprattle threw everything at UOL and missed. Death Sentence, box, flash, not available to him. It's 35 minutes into the game and a big one chunks HQ down.
And look in the middle lane, Xerxes, he hasn't given up yet. He's continuing pressure on as the TP comes in from Chachi.
Wow, Death Sentence this time interrupts that little waddle. Devour comes out, that's on cooldown. Second inhibitor falls. Unicorns have run out of Baron buff, but it doesn't matter. Huge crit! Redemption heal comes onto HQ. He's still at only a 3rd HP as a 3rd and final inhibitor is the target. Death Sentence finds the fat man. The equalizer on the back end is burning Exile, but Prophet was exhausted. Samax with a good cleanse to escape. Uses that QSS. And the 3rd inhibitor stands, but only barely.
UOL gets so much off the back of the Baron. It may not have been a lot of gold, but it was a lot more control and a perfect setup to be able to close out the game. We have to go back and think about how NIP were 6-0 at the beginning of this game. It feels like it's difficult to differentiate because they were like that at the beginning of every game, but they've had such great early leads, but then they always falter just at that one point. And the Unicorns of Love are a team that know how to punish, and they have done a beautiful job of it. Utilizing the Baron extremely effectively, not going for bad fights. Now all they need to do is group up, push mid, and look to end the series.
No flash for Sprattle. Nagne. Banshee's Veil gets popped. The Lantern use. Theoretical Death Sentence in case anybody else engaged. All right, Barrel is up, Onslaught is up, the 3rd inhibitor gets dropped. Just a couple of autos. Ninjas in Pyjamas now have to defend. Super Minions about to pour through the steps of their base. They don't have the greatest wave clear, but luckily, no Baron Empowered Minions means at least Nagne and Prophet will have less difficulty taking it down. Very big crit there onto Exile. Questionable package usage.
NIP, their backs are against the wall. Do they go for the desperation play, or are they just going to slowly lose their base? Because that is a lot of super minions. NIP, they have to find something.
Death sentence again, but only visit Chachi. Curtains are called. Damage comes out. Yes, Exile's caught, but the instant devour. Equalizer comes down. There's not enough damage to follow it up. Samux left alone on the side, but it doesn't matter. In here, Nexus turret number 1 is about to fall. It's so low. A light breeze would knock it over. Unicorns of Love not able to get in there yet. Redemption used to heal up NIP. And the Unicorns are resetting. Exile, by the way, inside NIP's jungle, clearing out the Krugs and
just trying to get some life steal. If he gets the red, he gets some health regeneration back. He's afraid of getting caught off as a hook lands.
Does indeed, but the Devour instantly comes down. Nexus turret number 1 falls. Vedius, this is the final stand. Hiku, summon a heal down. Death sentence only catching Visit.
Oh!
That's Samux! He kills Hiku! Unicorns have a 5v4. They've got themselves the onslaught of shadows if necessary. Sprattle's down as well. Samux has got the double, looking for the triple onto Nagne. It's Xerxes that takes him down. A hop forward for Shook, and the minions are taking down the Nexus. The Unicorns of Love want the ace. They want to send a message, and the Unicorns defeat the Ninjas.
Oh, that game was not as expected. The ending, very clean, immaculate performance from the Unicorns of Love once they had that final Baron, and the way in which they systematically took apart the base of NIP. But my God, NIP made them work so hard for that series victory. They were pushed to the brink. Their early game inactivity was so heavily punished by the likes of Shook. And it was great to see NIP being this proactive team and making UOL identify this big weakness that they need to rectify in the next few weeks.
Both teams should walk away today with their heads held high. NIP put up one of the best fights I've seen against Unicorns of Love all series long. And then you look at the Unicorns on the other side. The caliber of the team to bounce back from those huge deficits is definitely something to be proud of. And as teams continue to grow, it is something you have to learn. You have to figure out, how do you stem the bleeding? How do you play from a gigantic deficit? Game 2, they punished the mistakes of NIP. Game 3, they did it even better. Oh, great performance from the Unicorns of Love. Looking at Sheepy and Ramar, building up. Sheepy never smiles. During picks and bans, during it's all business, it's all serious. And now he is as smug as Ramar.
It was a difficult win, though. I'm sure Sheepy will go back to the team and be like, hey, guys, maybe we need to have a chat. But you can't take anything away from either team. As you rightly said, I think both can be happy with the fact the way in which Game 3 was much better from the Unicorns of Love. I think the fact that they saw that opportunity around the 18-minute mark to get the collapse done onto MIP, turn that into a very big snowball and close out the game in such clean fashion, demonstrates why they are at top.
I have bigger alarm bells, right? I want to step back from the series. I want to step back from the specifics of the series, and I want to say that for several weeks now, we're seeing the same sorts of problems. Slightly over-aggressive Visit Chachi, slightly out of position Exile. So these are things that, in my opinion, Unicorns need to double down on and start working on, not only for Rift Rivals next week, but also for the rest of the split, for playoffs, for a shot at really contesting for the final, for the title.
Yeah.
You cannot afford to have those punishable mistakes.
It's a little concerning that 5 weeks into the split that we are still talking about the same issues.
Yes.
The fact that Exile does have, we joked about it, but he does have a lot of isolated deaths. He is being caught out. He's not showing proper respect. And a lot of the work is being done by Xerxes. This man really has been stepping up, and I've been really impressed with his contribution to the team this year.
And Samux has been the shining light.
Course,
he ended up getting the player of the series for this one. Just great performance. Caitlyn in Game 3, the Twitch in Game 2. Spray and Pray is really set up quite nicely. And, reliable. This is a guy that doesn't really get caught out. He doesn't really struggle in laning phase. He doesn't struggle in team fights. He's just really well-rounded.
Yep, he's good. I always believed in him.
You did. Smugly. Only second, though. You didn't put him first.
No, because it was very difficult to put him above Sven. But regardless, I think that I'm so impressed with NIP. Like, the fact that they took game one so convincingly.
Yes.
They did take it slow, but like they played very smart, very methodical.
What I also like, it wasn't only the early game plays. It was the fact that they did play the macro relatively well.
Game one.
Even game two up until the overstep, right? Their vision was good all series long. They were pushing side lanes all series long.
The thing is, like, it's good in terms of growth, but I feel like things are only going to get harder for them as the split continues.
Yes, and hopefully every team continues to improve. Unicorns of Love took the victory here against NIP, and Dracos is sitting by with Sheepy.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am now joined, of course, by Sheepy, coach of the Unicorns of Love, as previously mentioned, along with lovable friend. Before we start, does it have a name? Should I be addressing it? Should I be introducing it?
No, I don't think it has a name yet. So, but that's actually something we're gonna figure out once we go back. Roma on the list.
All right, slightly creepy unicorn friend joining us on the interview bench. First up, what did that series feel like from your perspective? We saw the players in extreme facial expressions, looked like a lot of tension on the guys. What was going through your head over the course of that series? It was much closer than expected.
Yeah, I was not too happy. Obviously, about the early game, how we played it. I think that the laners had too many isolated / deaths in general. In the early game, we were like 1-7 every game. And that usually is a detriment to not understanding damage well. Like, because in perspective, our mid game and our late game was way more solid, like way more crisp, way more pushing out wave, recalling, resetting, and getting vision. So yeah, I really think this is the thing we're also gonna look at. And that was the thing bothering the most watching the game.
Interesting that you bring that up. Now, one player on your team that has received kind of a decent amount of criticism recently has been Exile in recent weeks. You brought up that it's not an understanding of damage. Do you think that is the biggest thing leading to some of these deaths in the early laning phase, getting caught out, maybe overextending?
I think that's something I wanted to say before and like inform people before about, but I really think the criticism is way too harsh for one singular person, because people have to understand that if somebody makes a mistake in the team and no one acknowledges it or nobody participated in the mistake, that's also a mistake by the team. So a lot of things that Exile dies to, like support rotating, forcing himself in a macro disadvantage because the jungler's asking for help, trying to pressure side wave. I think this is just a team mistake in a lot of cases. Obviously, he's dying in the 1v1s as well. And what people are not seeing is what he is actually providing as in the team. All the great invades with where Xerxes is playing over mid-side push and whatnot, that is like a huge part also from him. So I think he's a really strong player and understanding and learning really quickly. However, yes, our early game, especially in laning phase, where people are roaming and whatnot, needs to be improved. And I think he's like one of the people to look at as well there.
Now, I think that he's just the most kind of obvious symptom of the struggles of the Unicorns of Love right now. What would you say is the underlying issue there? Is it just the kind of lack of communication when it comes to those roams? Or what's the biggest issue for you guys when it comes to both early game and just as a team?
Yeah, we tend to never generalize. So it's really hard to like say it's this one and then we fix it, because every situation is kind of different. And I think it mostly comes down to respecting the enemy, what they can do, and that is kind of like damage understanding and just reading the play. So I think when he was like Kassadin and he died to Thresh, for example, that was not called, Renekton was not called. And this is kind of stuff that goes to the laners, not to the player himself. But for example, the solo kills and when he's trading inefficiently was also, it's something that he obviously takes a criticism share as well. So yeah, I think overall, what he needs to improve on is kind of understanding, reading the play, but that's also something we need to learn as a team, and that's kind of what we're working on right now.
Has that always been an issue for you guys? Because I feel like in the past, specifically last split, we didn't see this as much from Exile. He was incredibly successful. Maybe he was still playing forward and I missed it, but has the communication faltered in recent weeks, or has this kind of been a current issue?
Yeah, I think he's grown as a player. I mean, it's really hard to see because he has like most isolated deaths, right? He's going into 1v1 situations and sometimes going not out efficiently. But if people see what he's providing outside of that, how he's sneaking waves, how he is controlling the map, how he's pacing our play and setting up where we want to be, I think he is doing like a huge amount for that. And that's something that is sadly not so obvious. Like right now in the limelight is kind of kills and deaths and oh my god, 1v1. But yeah, for example, that in the mid game and late game we were 1-7 and like 10k behind, but we still had a strong play. It's just also because of him. So I think it's very clear where his weaknesses are and where he needs to improve. But I think also the strengths that are not seen should be something I really want to point out and people to know as well.
Yeah, so some of the criticism may be warranted, but maybe too much going on to Exile, not enough levied at the team, some struggles, some things to work on.
And understandable. I mean, people couldn't know what he is providing, but I think that he is somebody who's always listening and always learning in the scrims. So all the macro and everything decision-wise that we are doing, he's trying to implement himself and he's trying to become the best player. And honestly, this is just what we're looking for, in Unicorns of Love, basically.
Well, thank you for providing that insight into the team. Now, looking forward, Rift Rivals is coming up next week. It was a little shaky today. What can you say for European fans to build up a little bit of confidence in the Unicorns of Love as they go head-to-head with some of those NA teams?
I think we have already insane amount of confidence when I'm looking back into what European people said so far. Yeah. I hope we get to play because Fnatic, I think, starts, and then if they lose, we play or something like this? Or
you're going to get a chance to play every single North American team, regardless of how Fnatic does or does not do.
In this case, I think it will be really interesting. I watched some NA teams, and I think that overall the fights they're having are extremely explosive and all over the place, and it's like very down to like one micro decision. And in European, I think we're just a little bit more controlled, if that makes sense. So I think that will be a heated battle with a lot of fights. But if we're playing correctly, and I think G2 is stepping up as well, and Fnatic with their style as well, I think that we should have it, for Europe.
For Europe. All right, to wrap this up, what team are you most excited to play against? Is it going to be TSM, Cloud9, or P1?
I mean, since P1 is not, it's like considered not so strong right now, I think it's not a team we're like looking too much forward to play, but we have also been surprised before when we played like Hongdu Monsters, like from international teams. Usually even the bottom tier teams are like interesting, but obviously TSM, I mean, that will be the match. I mean, they wanted the rematch, and yeah, I'm looking forward, to see how both teams have grown. And if it will be like in the past and, we win against them.
I'm excited to see it as well. Well, thank you, Sheepy, so much for talking to me, and especially about Exile and the context on the team. For now, though, we're going to send it over to the post-game lobby so we can wrap up the week and look at what's ahead.